Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one leaves countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social side, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force a bear. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one leaves countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again. Yeah.
Welcome to the show. This is Game On. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is September the 3rd of 2015. This is the last day that I'm going to be 60 years old. That changes tomorrow. So the next time I'm on air, I'll be a year older. Nice. Anyways, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank the people in chat as usual, and I also want to thank Jules and UCY TV for giving me these time slots. Greatly appreciated. Now, I was going to talk tonight about some Canadian history, which I find extremely interesting. I didn't know that way back when, back in the day, I guess, they were trying to put together a republic of Canada based on the United States, and that we also had a flag called the Liberty flag. Didn't know that either. Don't know why. One taught me in school. So I got rooting around it a little bit, and it's very interesting, but I haven't done quite enough yet to make a decent presentation of it, so maybe we'll do that on Sunday or some other day, maybe one day next week. Anyways, I think tonight I'm just going to buzz through a few news articles here quickly, because it's getting more ridiculous and bizarre every day. And some of these stories are American, some are Canadian. But it really doesn't matter where you are, because I'm sure that you can pick up a paper pretty much anywhere you live, and you can associate with these stories, because some of these stories are pounded everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are. You're going to see the same story. Now, we have this refugee problem going on right now, and it's not really a refugee problem. It's being people forced from their so-called countries in order to create, I don't know what, maybe a crisis. And I feel so bad for these people. I mean, there's certain countries on this planet that just seem to get beat on constantly. And I don't know how their people get through it all the time. I guess they just get used to it. It really is pathetic that these world leaders, who call themselves world leaders, create these crises that just uproot people and destroy their lives. Bulldozer houses, I guess, in Palestine. It's bloody sickening of what's going on here. And you get these talking heads, these politicians, these world leaders. Oh my God, we need to do something about this immediately. Well, not just yet. We haven't got the full impact of the crisis out yet. So we'll let it run a little longer. I mean, the Pope's not going to be here till the 22nd. And we want to use this time period to create as many crises as possible. Now, I went and looked, and you might find this interesting. I went and looked. The timeline for the Pope is the 22nd through the 27th. And I don't want to get myself in too much trouble, so I better put a caveat out here, I guess, that what I'm about to say in no way is to encourage anyone to do anything stupid. Having said that, I'm going to say this. When Obama was first elected, it didn't make any sense. It just didn't make any sense at all. The man was picked for a reason. My thought process at the time, that was his first stint as president. I kind of looked the situation over a bit, and I thought, I'm not sure they didn't put this guy in as a patsy. First black president, came out of nowhere, and he's connected to some kind of revolutionary Marxist kind of outfits and whatnot. And he's pushing Islam, which is not what this your country, my country, or any other country in the West was ever built from. That's not the foundation. But this is about ripping the countries down, and so we got to pull the foundation out from underneath of it. So my thought process when he was first elected was this guy's been elected for something to happen in the future, which could possibly be a takedown or an assassination. And now that we have the Pope coming, and we have all these internationalists in such a rush to get this concluded, I would tell Mr. Obama that maybe he ought to hire somebody he can trust to watch his back or his skull. Something looks very wrong here. And like I said, the odds on this guy, it was like Jimmy Carter, the peanut farmer, becoming the president. What the hell was that all about? They handpicked these guys, and they pick them for a reason. Now, they've all been pushing the UN agenda, right and left, but particularly the right pushes it from more of a military situation. The right wing pushes it so they're more apt to go in and destroy something. And the Democrats, well, they're more liberal, supposedly more into human rights and that. And but they're all working for the same clan. So they all handpicked these guys. Obama was handpicked for a purpose. And we'll find out exactly what that purpose was, because he cannot be reelected again. So his job as CEO of the corporation south of us is coming to an end next year. So either he's going to walk out next year, or he's not probably, but there is a possibility he's carried out this fall. They need as many crises as they can possibly get in order to completely destabilize everything. And they're doing their absolute best to do that right now. We just have to stay calm through this and understand what's going on and don't get all freaked out. They will not win. They cannot win. And we ain't going to let them win. That would be just, stupid on our part. And if we don't win, it's not their fault. It's our fault. But anyways, front page here on the Toronto Star, which is a far left newspaper, I guess you would call it. But they all telling you the same story, but from different angles. But it's the same story. So here we have a video. When I went to get my coffee this morning, there was a picture of a young dead boy on a beach. I didn't read the story. I don't know anything about the story. I looked at another paper, and the little boy in that picture was being carried by someone. Same little boy. A little later picture, I guess. Don't know where it was, and it really doesn't matter. It could be anywhere on this planet because these guys are the murderers of the world. So there's a video up here of a lady crying. I want to tell the rest of the world at this point to step up and help the refugees. Now my question is, why are there so many refugees? That's the question. Why are these people in such duress? Why are these people running from their own lands? That's the question. Not that they are, but why are they? And I don't know exactly. This lady's name is Tima Crudai. Now the whole world is going to watch my story. Where was all the world before when my kids were hungry, when I didn't have a job? I don't know exactly what that's about. I'll watch it later. Don't have time right now, but history tells us we could be doing more for refugees. Right, we could stop the people who are running them out of their countries and turning them into refugees. But no, that's not the problem. Don't look at the root of the problem. You know, how will we help these people? This is a classic UN move, right? And it goes all the way back to UNICEF. Collecting money as a child, I did. And I'm still ticked off about that because all these crises are created by the very people that telling us to come and help them. So we are actually engaging, we are engaging ourselves in the refugee problem. You know, we're part of the problem because we don't look. I mean, the people that this show that listen to UCY TV get it for the most part. But if you're a listener and you don't know what I'm talking about, they create the problem, then they ask you to come and fix the problem that they started, and that involves you in the problem. Instead of putting your sights on who's creating the problems and getting rid of those people so that we don't have these continuously expanding and happening crises all the time, then we wouldn't have the refugee problems. We wouldn't have the market meltdown problems. We wouldn't have any housing problems. We wouldn't have any war problems. You know, oh my God, we're going to war. You know, suit up, boys, get your guns, we're going to war. Well, who the hell started the war? The guy's telling you to suit up because you got to go to war to protect the country. Well, that makes no sense. Get rid of the guys that told you you're going to war, and guess what? You're not going to war. Because there is no war. It's like there's no refugees. But they always feed on people's goodness. And people getting trapped into this stuff. I can't go anywhere anymore with a donation box stuck in my face. It's like the whole world is screwed up. And then if we don't keep donating, then all of these people will run into some sort of peril. They won't have any housing. They won't have any water. They won't have any food. They won't have any schools. Oh, my God, they won't have a frickin' solar panel, frickin' Africa that they never needed before, nor do they probably want. We got to get off this stupid treadmill we're on. Anyways, there's Nova Scotia, which is a little province on the east coast of Canada, says it can accept more refugees, but hasn't heard back from Ottawa. Okay. Now, we're building all kinds of high-density housing here and apartments in this little town I'm in. And the editor of our main newspaper here is a mouthpiece for Islam. And he is friends of this Islamic youth or whatever it's called, and they bring them into town every now and again to go door to door with flyers and that, telling everyone here how great Islam is. And this is basically a Scottish town who was raised on Christian values. Yet we have the editor of the main newspaper here incognito. I tracked him down where he was being praised by this Islamic group for doing such good work. This is all happening in behind the scenes, same as Agenda 21 being applied at your local level, but they never tell the people what the hell they're up to. And these are the people we got to get rid of, because they get rid of them clowns, we get rid of our problems. Now I'm just going to look at this real quick here, because the Pope is coming. And this is a message from the Democrats. And the Democrats, and I guess that would be Obama and his crew, are asking the Pope to address minimum wage and environment in his speech to Congress. Now this kills me, because they're asked the Pope. This was all laid out a long time ago. Oh, isn't that great? The Democrats are going to ask the Pope to address minimum wage and environment. Well, aren't the Democrats good? Isn't this great? I hope the Pope talks about minimum wage and environment, because those are the two biggest issues we have on the planet. It's already constructed. The Pope already knows he's going to talk about minimum wage, and he already knows he's going to talk about the environment. The media already knows he's going to talk about that. The Republicans already know he's going to talk about that. And all the church groups and the teachers groups, unions and that, already know he's going to talk about that. But they lay this out to Joe Average, like, oh, geez, I hope he talks about minimum wage. You know, what we really need is a guaranteed wage. That's what we need. We need a $15 an hour wage. That's a livable wage. Says who? Well, says the UN. And who's head of everything? Jesuit Pope. He knows exactly what he's going to be talking about. They got the script. The media's got the script. And they shoved this off to Joe Average like it's some kind of news or something. Anyway, I'm going to read a bit of this. This is from Associated Press. U.S. White House Democrats are pushing. Oh, my God. Can you imagine? The U.S. House Democrats are pushing head Jesuit Pope. Hey, Pope! Hey, you! Yeah, come here. I want to talk to you. We're the Democrats, and we're going to push you a bit. This is what we want to do, Jesuit Pope. When you get here, we want you to address certain things, okay? And don't let us down, huh? Don't let us down, Mr. Pope. We want you to address the minimum wage, hunger, and the environment. That's what we want out of your mouth. And you're going to say that to Congress, hoping his embrace will give momentum to three-party priorities. In a letter to the Pontiff, 94 House Democrats lauded Francis scheduled during his 6-day U.S. trip, which includes visits to a Philadelphia prison and a school in New York's Harlem neighborhood. Your powerful example of solidarity with the poor and the marginalized will undoubtedly help inform our current debates around major U.S. policy affecting all Americans, the lawmakers wrote. Your message of hope could not come at a more crucial time, in particular to those in our nation that are struggling on a minimum wage salary or relying on public assistance to put food on the table. The Democrats cited instances in which Republicans have blocked Democratic efforts to increase the federal minimum wage and bolster food and environmental programs. We look forward with great anticipation to your visit and to your words and all these issues, they said. Now, one might ask oneself, and I've asked this many times over the past, when exactly did we, the people, become so damned incompetent that we can no longer feed ourselves? When we can no longer manufacture anything for our own benefit? When did our nations become third class? And why is the Democratic Party or any other party, because the same crap's going up here in Canada, why would a major party who is supposed to understand how to run a country be looking to a Jesuit Pope to come and offer words of encouragement? These guys ought to be all rounded up, taken out back, and paddled. You don't have to waterboard them. They're too sissy for that. You know, they probably, well, they'd be upset and cry and stuff. No, just take them out and get a nice big, broad, flat board and paddle their asses for a while. They'll cry then, too, because they're all a bunch of weak little crybabies that just happen to have a handle on the authority situation here. And we're dumb enough to put up with it. But don't worry, the Pope's coming with words of encouragement. Okay, Mr. Pope, Corporation Soul Man, he's a soul man. Corporation Soul Man. Coming to America to spread a message. Now, if you go look at the IMF and you go look at World Bank and you go and look at all of these agencies and organizations, one of the big pushes is the guaranteed income. And this living minimum wage is part of the early propaganda on that. Now, if America was actually manufacturing anything, same thing here in Canada, we wouldn't have people working 2 or 3 or 4 part-time jobs with no benefits at minimum wage, would we? Didn't happen in the past. But once you remove all the jobs, then the corporations have you by the shorts, if you will. And so it's all about benefiting the corporations. Now they start up the B Corps, which are the benefit corps, and now they got you by the shorts, are going to help fund what you and all your taxes can't seem to fund, which are your basics, your parks, your schools, your universities, of which they all control already. And so they will be put in the position of looking like the good guys because the government's too incompetent to manage to do anything other than destroy your nations and the people in them. But the Pope will come and fix all of that, I suppose. And this is a letter that was dated on August the 12th, and first reported by Politico. Oh, there's a second letter. That letter, let's see, in the second letter, 13 House lawmakers who, oh geez, I can't, excuse me, this is over the freaking top. In a second letter, this is worse than Saturday Night Live newscasts, man. They couldn't come up with this crap. In a second letter, 13 House lawmakers who graduated from Jesuit schools, no less, described how their educations encouraged them to serve the needy and politely asked if the Pope had time in his already packed schedule to meet with them. Period. Next sentence. Francis is a Jesuit. Period. For those that didn't know. We look forward to your visit to Washington, D.C., of which we all realize has nothing to do with America, that it was a grand deception of which America has been saddled with, shackled with, enchained, enslaved by all these many years. But we do look forward to your visit to Washington, D.C., and if time permits, we welcome the opportunity to discuss how best to serve our constituents, our country, our world, and our God, they wrote in the August 31st letter. Well, we know who the Jesuits' God is. You see, the world's upside down. Now, the Vatican put up a new observation center with a big new telescope. Now, I don't know if the thing's built yet or not. I read this a while back. And the acronym for that new telescope, so they can gaze out into the universe. The acronym for that new telescope is Lucifer. Our world and our God. Now, the United Nations is it's home to the Satanists, the Luciferians, and the Pope. While he ain't a country, the Holy See has full access to the UN, and he makes suggestions to. He's got run of the house. It is his house. It's a satanic house. But he's coming to America. So like I said, Mr. Black Man, Mr. Obama, Mr. Kenyon, Mr. whatever the hell it is you are, you might want to get a bit of backup. You may need it. And I'm not encouraging anyone to cause anyone harm. That's not where I come from. That's not who I am. But I've been at this a long, long time. And I do believe that if they just need a little extra push here, you might be in somebody's sights. And it won't be Joe Average American. Okay? It'll be set up. Probably by someone that you ate dinner with, Mr. Obama. So, keep your friends close and keep your enemies even closer. Now, let's see what else we got. Canada's refugee policy can't stop the tragic refugee deaths, Harper says. And for you don't know, he is our prime minister at the time being. And we have a message here. The story, the headline is Canada refugee policy can't stop the tragic refugee deaths, Harper says. There's a video that comes up on this. It says graphic content. But the first face I see on this video is not the Prime Minister, Harper. It's his adversary in politics, Tom Mulcair of the NDP, the Orange Crush, which are members of the UNPA pushing for a United Nations parliamentary system which supersedes ours and everybody else's on the planet. I mean, the guy's a lawyer. What can I say? He's a big UN fan. What can I say? You know. Anyways, we could drive ourselves crazy with grief. Obviously, we try to do what we can do to help, the Prime Minister Harper said. But he said adding more resources to speed up the flow of refugees is not of itself a reasonable moral reaction or solution to this problem. Speaking at a conservative rally in Surrey, British Columbia, Harper addressed the refugee crisis in Europe that hit home yesterday when photographs of a drowned Syrian 3-year-old boy made headlines. He said he and his wife found it heart-wrenching. I think a reaction to that, the first thing that crossed our mind was remembering our son Ben at that age, Harper said. He didn't drown on a beach, by the way. It brings tears to our eyes, he said. It truly is a heartbreaking situation and a terrible tragedy. But Harper said the report that the child pictured in the image and his family was denied refugee asylum is not correct. There was no record of an application received for Mr. Abdullah Kurdi and his family. Citizenship and Immigration Canada spokesman Jean Bruno Villeneuve said in a statement. Refugee policy alone is not a solution to the process. The boy's father told media in Turkey he was trying to bring the boy and his brother to Canada as refugees. His sister tearfully told reporters in BC that she tried to sponsor their older brother, Mohammed, who was rejected because it was impossible to get the documents from Turkey, and then fled to Germany. She held a second press conference Thursday afternoon saying that when Mohammed's application was denied, she knew there was no hope for Abdullah in Canada. I knew I'm not going to apply for Abdullah, she said. It was really bad to tell them this. I'm sorry I can't bring you here. Mohammed settled in Germany, and Abdullah wanted to follow with his own family. Because she suspected Abdullah and his family would also be rejected, the BC family decided they should go first to Europe. Yada, 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 yeah. Lots of tears, lots of bodies, I suppose. I am certain that through all of this upheaval that's being taken place here, that many young people and old people alike have died through this manufactured crisis. And they just happened to get a picture of a drowned 3-year-old on a beach. And this makes good headlines, and it helps push the crisis to the absolute front pages, and they can propagandize the hell out of it. No, the question always has to remain, why are there refugees? Who started the crisis? Why did they start the crisis? Find the guys that started the crisis. Jail them. Then all of a sudden you'll find your refugee problem goes away. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. We used to have separate countries. And they would have their traditions. And they had their societies. And we lived in a very diverse world. A very interesting world. And the people in each of their countries knew how to deal with the environment within which they lived. They knew how to grow the crops that were required. Because obviously if they didn't, they wouldn't have survived. So these people are more than capable of running their own societies, which they did for millennia. But then those empire builders who want to control and rule everybody started going into these countries and using flattery, get to know them, teach them what a vaccine is, teach them better farming practices, even though they had no idea what they were talking about because they didn't live there for millennia, and disrupt societies everywhere. Offering them a better way to do things, how to become more prosperous, how to come into the new age, if you will, to come out of your old backward way of life and come into the new way of life. None of this was done to help the people in the countries. It was done to steal the resources and destroy the people in those countries. And they've done a mighty fine job of it if you look around the world. Genocide has been going on for a long, long time. They bring up the genocide of the Native North Americans. Genocide it was, but it's no different than that we've been doing to countless countries over the years. And in order to bring them up, well, you're going to need improvements. The only way you're going to get improvements is to purchase them. The only way you're going to purchase them is with our money. And so what we'll do is we'll lend you some money with promises of greatness and great expanse and all the modern things anyone could ever want. And then we own your butt. And those countries that got suckered into this, and I don't know anybody that hasn't yet, these internationalists, these Luciferians, these sons of so-and-sos that should be taken out back and, well, something done to them. They've destroyed all these people, directly liable for hundreds of millions of deaths over the years, hundreds of millions of deaths of innocent people through concocted famines, through concocted wars, through financial collapses. And they love it. They enjoy it. Just like any sociopath, psychopath, it's how they get their kicks. They like to harm others. Now, why have we been letting them get away with this all these years? I mean, a lot of us didn't know, you pick, oh my God, there's going to be a war, without ever asking, where'd that come from? Too easily caught up in the propaganda. Well, the propaganda has pretty much lost its shelf life for a growing number of people. And I want to thank all the people who sat down and started to ask some pretty basic questions and followed those questions to find the answers. I want to take my hat off to people, because it does take a commitment. But more and more people are doing it. More and more people are sharing their knowledge. More and more people who didn't want to know anything now all of a sudden want to know something. And these are all very positive things. And we'll just continue that way until we get this fixed. They're always talking about tourism, and I would love to bring back the old days, back in the day, when they had the stocks in the town square, and they would just take someone that caused problems or caused harm and just put them in the stocks, and then you were encouraged to fire stuff at them, I even said that to one of our counselors here a few years back. I said, everybody's trying to figure out how to bring tourists to town. Simple. Take these lunatics at the town hall, put them in the stocks, charge $5 a tomato. We'll have more tourists here than you can shake a stick at. We'll start a trend. We got to do something with these people. We got to keep outing them, you know. But it kills me, you know, that you know, people are starting to get sick of this continual nonsense. You know, it's not like in the old days where they could pull off a war or tell us, you know, there was genocide in Rwanda or something, and we didn't. You know, it took a lot of effort to do the research, and it's a lot of work for people. You got to be very dedicated to do that. And so now, you know, with the internet, which Rockefeller, one of the kingpins of this nonsense, wanted shut down because there's too much information coming out. Their documents are all online. You know, but his guys told him, you know, Rocky, you can't have what you want without the internet. Simple as that. You can't have a cashless society without the internet. You can't have your digital ID without the internet. You cannot get what you want, and that's control of everything and everybody on the planet without the internet. It's a no-go. So they just started up all of these disinfo controlled opposition groups. I like how Chomsky, I mean, what is Chomsky? He's been in the university system like for what, ever? And maybe a day? You know, a linguist. Well, there's nothing more dangerous than language used by highly intelligent people for devious reasons. And Chomsky's at the top of that list. But on controlled opposition, he described how controlled opposition works. And that is to have a very, you know, very vibrant discussion on a topic. Pick any topic. And, but keep it in an extremely narrow band. And that's controlled opposition, because people won't go look outside of it because they're so engaged in that tight little spot there, they can't see anything else. And they keep the conversation going all the time, so people feel engaged when they're not engaged at all. They've been conned, I guess, if that's engagement. Then I guess in that case they're engaged. But they're not really engaged at all. They're just fools. So they set up a very broad net to pick up the people who went looking but didn't have the knowledge to spot what they were being entrapped. And a lot of people wasted a lot of years at that. But fortunately, that again is not. It doesn't have the grip on people it used to have. People are getting much better, and I want to take my hat off to all those people. You know, the Get Back the Bank of Canada. I mean, I was day one on that puppy, outing it for the fraud it is. And all those other things that had come our way, tea parties, and I already said this enough times, Occupy, all constructed control groups that gathered up an awful lot of people. And those people tend to, when that dies down, the next thing comes up and they join onto that. But the leaders of these things are all, you know, they're like franchises, you know. And they're all paid, they're all players. There's nothing spontaneous about it. And so, you know, over the years, it's been going on for quite a while now, and people are starting to get it and are being more mindful before they get caught up in the next instantaneous nonsense. Now, the Pope coming, I hope the American people. Now, it's supposed to be 70% or 72% of Americans consider themselves Christians. And I hope they get some of this stuff here, that following a Jesuit pope ain't getting you where you hope you're going when the game's over. So you need to wise up as well. Now, what else have we got here? I got 15 minutes. Let's pop over the national poll. Okay. So this one has the Canada says it never denied refugee application for migrant boy and his family. And this one has a picture, I suppose, of the father carrying the young boy's body. And that breaks my heart. Absolutely, because it should have never happened. But then the Pope and the United Nations, they care. They care about the people. They care about the refugees. They care about your health. They care about your financial situation. They care about your access to water. That makes me want to throw up. Absolutely throw up. You know, I said to somebody one time, we were doing a show, and I said, it was that movie, and I haven't watched movies in a long, long time, but it was A Christmas Story with Chevy Chase and his cousin Eddie, or his wife's cousin Eddie, or whatever. And Clark has working his tail off for the corporation, looking for his yearly bonus. And instead of the money that he normally got, he got a subscription to Jelly of the Month Club, I believe it was. And he was very ticked off. But being a corporate bum kisser, if you will, afraid of authority, there's nothing he could do about it except rant and carry on like a complete dickweed, a non-man, if you will. Eddie, on the other hand, who was put up as the idiot, the fool, he's just Eddie. Eddie looked the situation over and he saw that the family would have been hurt. Now, Eddie may not be the brightest bulb on the planet, but Eddie intrinsically knows the difference between right and wrong. Clark, on the other hand, is a bum kisser, a little boy, afraid of the authority, his boss. And therefore, he will bow down. And as angry as he is, he's got himself Jelly of the Month. What's Eddie do? He gets in that old motorhome, slides over to the boss's house, who lives in a particularly rich mansion, and walks in and grabs the guy. Because he wants this guy to see what he's done to this family. Ties him up, drags down there, and kicks him in the house. Now, Clark, instead of going, way to go, Eddie, set that dick down here, I want to talk to him. No. Being a little bum kisser, he doesn't know what to do about it. He's apologizing to the very guy that he feels abused him. That's the wife abuse syndrome coming, which so many people suffer from. They've lost their manhood. And, I remember on one show I just said that, I don't know if Obama had done something particularly stupid or something, and we were doing a show, and I says, somebody bring me Obama. Go get Obama and bring him to me. I want to have a talk with this dickweed. Now, is that showing lack of respect, do you think? Absolutely not. Look at America. Look at the mess you're in. $18 trillion in the frickin' hole, of which is all phony anyway, so you don't have to pay it back. So don't get yourself considerate about that. But they use that to further depress people. You know, some dickweed politician gets up and says, I got a plan for dealing with the debt. Well, so do I. Put a big X through it. It doesn't exist. They're gone. Psst. It started phony. Let's end it honestly. Set the debt down. It says $18 trillion on a piece of paper. Put a big X through it. Wham. Null and void. Now you don't have an $18 trillion debt. Simple as that. It was all done under fraud and deception, which are against the law, which you cannot benefit from, and therefore it is null and void. So there is no $18 trillion debt, but you got to get back and get hold of the lands. And I'm not just talking about Americans, and I'm not browbeating the Americans. Don't get me wrong there. I met just some of the greatest people I ever ran into from America. But we gotta get our manhood back somehow. Now, here's a very true story. I only got a couple of minutes left. Here's a very true story. I haven't read it, but it looks true. So we're going to take a quick look at it. And it says, millennials. What the hell, a millennial? Hi, I'm a millennial. The hell is that stuff? I'm a millennial. Well, I'm happy for you. Could you describe that for me? Nope. But that's what they call us, so that's what I guess I am. Anyways, you can't make this crap up. Millennials see themselves as self-absorbed and wasteful, says poll. Now, we're going to go and take a look at this. There's a picture of a bunch of young, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pretty good-looking young girls. And one young guy, and they're on a beach, and well, that's what they are. And this story is out of Washington. So maybe the Pope will go down to the beach and have a chat with the millennials. Who knows? This is starting to sound a whole lot like Mr. Rogers and his neighborhood, doesn't it? Anyways, Washington, even millennials don't think much of their generation, according to a new poll Thursday. A Pew Research Center study, and you can always trust the Pew Group, showed that millennials, generally defined as those ages between 18 and 34, had far more negative views of their generation compared to Generation Xers, baby boomers, and other age groups. More than half of millennials, 59%, described their generation as self-absorbed, while almost half, 49%, said they were wasteful, and 43% said they were greedy. Around 30% of Generation Xers, those 35 to 50, said their own generation was self-absorbed and wasteful, and 20% of the baby boomers said the same about their age group. Millennials stand out in their willingness to ascribe negative stereotypes to their own generation, the study said. The older the group, the more positively they saw themselves, said the Pew Group. For example, the so-called silent generation, those 70 to 87, overwhelmingly described themselves as hardworking, responsible, and patriotic at 83%, 73%, and yada. The baby boomers are not far behind, picking those same three words to describe themselves as 77 and 66%. But the millennials and the Generation Xers were not quite so positive about themselves. Only 12% of millennials and 26% of Generation Xers say they are patriotic. 24% of the millennials and 43% of the Gen Xers say they're responsible. And 36% of the millennials and 54% of the Generation Xers said they are hardworking. In fact, the highest ranking positive traits that millennials came up with for themselves were environmentally conscious at 40% and idealistic at 39%. Many millennials don't even want to be identified as such, with 60% not considering themselves to be part of the millennial generation. Well, that's a good sign. But what this shows you is that this has to do with the constant dumbing down through the educational system, the continual indoctrination in the education system, the propaganda from media and the education system, and the music. You know, the music has a huge part to do in it. If you look back at what I listened to when I was a young guy, and you understand the history of the Beatles and who controlled that and why what was being played, you get the obvious conclusion that everything really that comes along is a pre-set program of which they use to move and manipulate people. And this is the same thing with Generation Xers, but or the millennials, and before them, the Generation Xers, is to continually dumb them down so they don't know anything. And it was, forgot his name right now, Brzezinski, I guess, who said it would take 2.5 to 3 generations to basically mind screw these people, to make a jelly mold out of their skull or the innards in their skull, so that they could basically do what they want with them. Okay? And that's where we are now. So now we're going to bring in the Pope and continue to push this nonsense forward. Anyways, you know, I feel bad, you know, are hardworking. Well, of course they were hardworking because they had to provide. They didn't have all of these government so-called benefits, and they were prouder people. And there was actually, dare I say it, jobs for the older generation to go work at. I mean, in the past, many people, generations of families worked in the same craft or the same business, and it was good. It was healthy. I mean, it was all still controlled by the money groups, but they were a much better group of people, I think. And I am not down on the kids. I mean, I have met some kids who are quite bright and get this nonsense that's going on, and they're quite ticked off about it. But for the most part, I was at the school and talked to students, and I was freaked out. 17-year-olds had the capacity or the knowledge, I thought, of a 10-year-old, maybe a 12-year-old. And when that teacher called me to come and speak to the students, and couldn't get there, but I said, like, how bad is it? And I graduated in grade 8 in 1967. And he said, when I graduated grade 8 in 67, I had the functional capacity of a grade 12 graduate today, and it's getting worse. And that was several years back, so I would think maybe it is even lower now. And who do we really have to blame? Do we have the kids to blame? No. Again, we have ourselves to blame. And we're going to have to start taking responsibility for all these things. You know? It's our fault. It's always our fault. It's not the politicians' fault. It's not the bureaucrats' fault. It's not even the friggin' Pope's fault. It's our fault. We allowed this to happen. Let no man deceive you. Well, we have been mightily deceived. And one of the greatest deceivers is coming to a town near you. September 22nd through the 27th, the Great Jesuit Deception. And it sounds like we're out of town already. Anyways, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Weird show, but tough. And I'll be back on Sunday. I got to do a show on Revolution Radio 10 to midnight on Saturday night.
Sing from water, sing from air, making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air, fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, they burn the kids. No one thinks countries laugh to your face.